Hi everyone, it's good to be with you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had this experience? You eat very little at night. Maybe just a small bowl of soup, a little bit of rice porridge, nothing sweet at all. You think you did everything right, and then the next morning you check your blood sugar, and the number on that meter just makes you frown. It's not 120, it's 125 or 130, sometimes even 140 or higher right at that moment. So many people think to themselves, is this my fault? Is my willpower just not strong enough? Did I mess up somewhere again? Before we go any further, I want to say something to you. I have said this to so many of my patients over the years, and every single time I say it, I see this look of relief come over their faces. It is not your fault. Really, it is not. The real problem is not what you ate during the day. The real problem is something that starts happening after you fall asleep, something that almost no diet book, no pamphlet, no mainstream article has ever mentioned. You turn off the lights and go to sleep, but your liver does not clock out. It works like that employee who never leaves all night long. It keeps releasing glucose into your bloodstream, even though you haven't eaten a single thing. That is the real reason so many people can eat such a careful, restricted dinner and still wake up with high morning blood sugar. That nighttime window, those 8 hours while you sleep, that is the key battlefield. And we have been ignoring it. Today, I am going to share with you a warm, simple drink. Just two ordinary ingredients. You can buy them online or at almost any grocery store for less than the cost of a coffee drink at Starbucks. You get a whole month's supply. It takes less than 3 minutes to make. And yes, this is backed by real peer-reviewed scientific literature. It helps your liver do its job better during that long, easily forgotten overnight period. Before I tell you exactly how to make it, I need to explain why it works, because I have learned something important over the years. The people who understand the why are the ones who actually stick with it. Over the years, I have seen a certain kind of patient who really stays with me, not the ones who aren't trying. No, the opposite. The ones who try so hard that it honestly makes my heart hurt. They keep a food diary every single day. They go out for a walk and never skip it. They can list what they can eat and what they cannot eat. They know it better than I do. But their fasting blood sugar, it just will not come down. Over time, I slowly came to understand something. It is not their fault. It is that the advice we have been giving, the standard handouts, the usual recommendations, those only cover the daytime. They completely miss the 8 hours when you are asleep. Before we go further, I need to say something very important. What I am sharing today is a supportive lifestyle habit. It is not a replacement for your relationship with your own primary care doctor. If you are currently taking diabetes medication or insulin, please talk to your doctor before trying this. That is not being afraid. That is being responsible with your own health. Let me tell you about a patient I remember very clearly. She was a 67-year-old woman. She had taught elementary school for over 30 years before she retired. The day she came to see me, her daughter came with her. She sat down, and the first thing she said, she didn't even ask a question first. She let out a big sigh and said, "Doctor, I am really trying. I don't eat any rice at night. I walk every day. So why won't my blood sugar just behave?" I looked at the blood sugar log she brought with her. Her numbers before dinner were normal, around 110, maybe a little lower. But her morning fasting numbers, almost every single morning, they were 140, 150, sometimes higher. Her hands were a little cool. She had some dark circles under her eyes. She told me that recently she had been waking up with a bitter taste in her mouth, and her head felt heavy, like she hadn't really slept at all. I asked her, "What time do you usually eat dinner? And what time do you go to bed?" She said she eats dinner around 7 p.m. and she goes to bed around 10:30 p.m. Then I asked, "Do you have anything to drink before bed, like warm milk or tea or anything with honey?" She thought about it for a moment, then she nodded and said, "Oh, yes, every night I have a small cup of warm honey water. I heard it's good for my stomach." Right there, that small cup of honey water. I already had a pretty good idea what was going on. You see, this woman's confusion is the same confusion that so many of you are feeling right now. Her effort was real, her control was serious, but there was a blind spot. And no one had ever told her about it. If you wake up with high blood sugar, even though you are already eating carefully, I want you to listen very closely to what comes next. And if that teacher's story sounds like you, or like your mom, your dad, your aunt, your grandparent, go ahead and leave the number 1 in the comments. Let me know you are watching. Let's walk through this together. All right. Now let me explain that forgotten nighttime battle. What is actually happening inside your body? When you fall asleep, your insulin level naturally goes down. Your blood sugar slowly goes down too. That is all normal and healthy, but there is one organ that does not go into rest mode along with you. That organ is your liver. Think of your liver as a big distribution center during the day. It receives glucose, it stores extra sugar away for later. That is its daytime job. But at night, when you have not eaten for several hours, your liver has another very important task. It actively releases some of that stored glucose back into your bloodstream. It does this to protect you from crashing into a dangerously low blood sugar while you are sleeping. In medicine, we call this hepatic glucose output. This is actually a protective mechanism. Think about it. If your blood sugar dropped too low in the middle of the night, your body would set off a whole chain of stress responses. Your heart would have to work harder over time. That is not good for you. So your liver releasing some glucose at night, that is normal, that is helpful. But here's where the problem starts. In a healthy body, this process is very precise. The liver knows exactly how much glucose to release and exactly when to stop. That stop signal is controlled by insulin. But once the insulin signal becomes faulty, once you develop what we call insulin resistance, your liver loses its brakes. It does not know when to stop anymore. So it just keeps sending out glucose all night long. You did not eat anything, but your morning blood sugar has already gone up while you were sleeping. That, my friends, is the real source of high fasting blood sugar for so many people. It is not that you are not trying hard enough. It is that your liver's brake system has stopped working the way it should. Now, here is another detail that is especially important for my older viewers. It is called sarcopenia. That just means age-related muscle loss. When you were younger, your muscles were the main team responsible for handling blood sugar. Think of your muscles like a big, thick, strong sponge. As soon as your blood sugar started to rise, your muscles would just soak it right up. Fast, efficient, no problem. Your liver did not have to work so hard. But after age 60, that sponge starts to shrink. According to medical research, after age 60, we lose about 8 to 15% of our muscle mass every 10 years. The sponge gets thinner, it gets smaller, its ability to soak up sugar naturally goes down. So your liver has to carry a heavier and heavier load. It has to work harder and harder to control your blood sugar. This is why the exact same meal can affect a 65-year-old very differently than a 30-year-old. It is not a lack of willpower. It is not that you are not trying. It is a reality of the natural aging process. Can you understand that feeling? You are working so hard and your body just will not cooperate with you the way it used to. I understand that. I really, truly do. So just eating less, just starving yourself is not going to solve this problem. We need to do something on a different level. We need to help your liver during those 8 overnight hours get its braking ability back. Now, there is a concept from traditional medicine that says something like the liver stores blood. Late night is when the liver rests and repairs. It specifically talks about the hours between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. as the best time for the liver to take care of itself. When you put that idea into a modern medical framework, it actually makes a lot of sense. Modern medicine has confirmed that your liver has its own daily rhythm, a 24-hour cycle controlled by your internal clock genes. During the day, your liver is busy processing glucose and storing energy. At night, it switches modes, it reduces absorption, it starts releasing stored glucose. And at the same time, it repairs and regenerates its own cells. The problem is, if you go to bed with high blood sugar and high insulin because you ate dinner too late, or you ate too much, or you have a habit of drinking something sweet before bed like honey water, fruit juice, or hot chocolate, then you are basically forcing your liver to work overtime when it really wants to shut down for the night. The result is that your body's ability to clear glucose becomes less efficient. Your fasting blood sugar stays high day after day, month after month, and over time, insulin resistance gets worse and worse. It becomes a vicious cycle. So before I tell you exactly how to make this drink, please remember this one core idea: the time you eat something matters just as much as what you eat. Once you really understand that, you will understand exactly what this drink is doing. It is not a magic potion. It is not some strange folk remedy. It is simply helping your liver do the right thing at the right time. All right, now let me talk about apple cider vinegar. I will be completely honest with you. The very first time I saw a formal research study on apple cider vinegar at a medical conference, I was skeptical. I had doubts because apple cider vinegar has been overhyped by the wellness industry for way too long. You have seen the claims: weight loss, detox, clean out your arteries, burn fat, cure everything. They slap every possible benefit on the label. And honestly, that kind of overhyping makes a lot of people think it is just another scam, another way to take your money. But here is the thing. The problem is not the apple cider vinegar itself. The problem is that people always talk about the results. They say it works or it doesn't work, but they never explain the mechanism. They never explain how it works. Once you understand the mechanism, everything makes perfect sense. The key active compound in apple cider vinegar is called acetic acid. When acetic acid enters your body, it gets absorbed through your small intestine and travels through your blood to your liver. It sets off a very specific chain reaction inside your liver cells. To put it simply, the acetic acid turns into acetate and then into something called acetyl-CoA. This process temporarily changes the balance of two molecules inside your cells called AMPAP, ATP. That change in balance activates a very important enzyme called AMP-K. Those three letters sound very foreign and technical, but here's all you need to remember. You can think of AMPK as your body's master metabolic switch. This is a very important comparison, so please keep it in mind. When that master switch AMPK gets flipped on, it is like someone throwing the main electrical breaker in a factory. Your cells immediately start doing two things. First, they start burning energy and burning fat. Second, they stop storing new fat. But here is the most important part for what we are talking about today. AMPK directly tells your liver enough. Stop sending out so much glucose at night. Let me give you a very direct comparison. Your liver leaking sugar at night is like a kitchen faucet that does not close all the way. The drip is small, but over 8 hours, that steady drip adds up to a lot of water. A surprising amount, apple cider vinegar does not scoop water out of the sink. It does not tell you to stop drinking water. What it does is help you tighten that faucet just a little bit, so less water leaks out while you sleep. This research comes from a credible source in 2007. A clinical trial was published in a world-famous, very respected journal called Diabetes Care. The study was done by a research team led by a scientist named Johnston. They had people with diabetes drink a small amount of diluted vinegar before bed. The results: the next morning, their fasting blood sugar was lower by an average of 4 to 6%. The research team specifically said that this benefit came from acetic acid suppressing nighttime glucose output from the liver. Please pay attention to this. This is peer-reviewed, published data. This is not a folk remedy. This is not an internet rumor. If you have time, I encourage you to go look up the original study yourself, 4 to 6%. That does not sound like a huge number, but let me translate it into real life. If your usual fasting blood sugar is around 150, a 4 to 6% reduction could bring you down to around 144 or even lower. And that is just from a single night. If you stick with this consistently over time, the long-term cumulative effect will be larger and more meaningful. Let me share another small story. It is very simple, but I remember it clearly. I had a patient, a man in his 70s. He had driven a city bus his whole career. He had been retired for several years. He came in for a follow-up appointment, and I asked him how his sleep had been lately. He said, pretty good. Then, completely on his own, he added, Doc, I have noticed that my mouth isn't bitter when I wake up anymore, and my head doesn't feel so heavy. That groggy, not quite awake feeling I used to have. It's a lot less. I don't know why. This was around the 3rd week after he had started drinking this beverage. He did not show me his blood sugar numbers with excitement. He did not tell me exactly how much his numbers had dropped. But that feeling of lightness in his body, that feeling of waking up differently, to me, that felt more real and more convincing than any number on a meter. If you are still watching carefully, that tells me you truly care about your health. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. I will keep sharing practical, useful content like this to help you and your family avoid unnecessary detours and wasted money. All right, the second ingredient, let's talk about cinnamon. But before I say anything else, I need to give you a very, very important safety reminder. Please, please remember this. Not all cinnamon is safe to drink every single day. The cinnamon you normally buy at the regular grocery store or at the spice market or at the bulk food store, the kind that is dark brown, rolled up thick with a very strong, intense smell, that is called cassia cinnamon. One type of cassia cinnamon is often just labeled as cinnamon. This cassia cinnamon contains a relatively high amount of a natural compound called coumarin. The European Food Safety Authority has set a specific daily limit for coumarin. Why? Because if you consume too much coumarin over a long period of time, it has a potential risk of being toxic to your liver. Now, using a stick of cassia cinnamon in a pot of beef stew or in a holiday apple pie, once in a while, that is completely fine, no problem at all. But if you grind that same cassia cinnamon into a powder and put it in your warm water every single day as a drink, that is a different situation. That is chronic daily exposure. We want to avoid that. So what we need is a different type of cinnamon. It is called Ceylon cinnamon. Sometimes it is also called true cinnamon. Ceylon cinnamon has extremely low levels of coumarin, many times lower than cassia cinnamon. sometimes as much as 100 times lower. That is why it is internationally considered safe for regular daily use. So how do you tell the difference between Ceylon cinnamon and regular cassia cinnamon? Let me teach you a few simple methods first. Look at the color. Ceylon cinnamon is lighter in color, closer to light brown or even a tan, beige color. Regular cassia cinnamon is very dark, reddish brown or deep brown. Second, look at the texture. Ceylon cinnamon is thinner and softer. It rolls up like paper sometimes in many thin layers. You can almost peel it apart. Regular cassia cinnamon is thick, hard, and usually only 1 or 2 layers. It is difficult to break with your fingers. Third, smell it. Ceylon cinnamon has a milder, more delicate, slightly sweet smell. It is not overpowering. Regular cassia cinnamon has a very strong, sharp, spicy smell, almost hot or irritating to your nose. You can find Ceylon cinnamon powder in the health food section of most large grocery stores, or you can search online for Ceylon cinnamon powder. The price is not very high. A month's supply is usually just a few dollars. Please understand, this is not me being picky. This is a safety issue. We are trying to improve your health. The very first step is making sure we are not accidentally harming you over time. All right, now that we have confirmed the safety part, let me explain how Ceylon cinnamon works. The term insulin resistance, a lot of people have heard it, but not everyone really understands what it feels like. Let me give you a comparison. Imagine insulin as a messenger. It runs to the door of your cell and knocks loudly. It shouts, "Open up, sugar is here, open the door and let the sugar in." But if you have insulin resistance, your cell does not hear that signal very well anymore. It is like the messenger is shouting until he is hoarse, knocking until his hand is sore, but the people inside the cell are just lazy and do not respond very well. So the sugar builds up in your blood, it cannot get into the cells, and your blood sugar gets higher and higher. So what does Ceylon cinnamon do? The active compounds in Ceylon cinnamon, mainly cinnamaldehyde and type A proanthocyanidins, have the ability to bypass that broken doorbell. They work from inside the cell to activate a different pathway. They help the cell open the door from the inside. In other words, apple cider vinegar helps tighten the kitchen faucet so your liver leaks less sugar at night. Ceylon cinnamon helps your cells open the front door to let sugar in. One reduces output, one increases input, 2 different directions. They complement each other perfectly. Their goal is the same, and when you use them together, their effects add to each other. This is not just me making conversation. There is research to support this. A major analysis published in the Annals of Family Medicine, that is a very respected journal, found that regular cinnamon supplementation had a significant and steady effect on lowering fasting blood sugar and triglycerides. Later studies published in the Journal of Medicinal Food found similar results, and here is something very important. This effect is especially strong in people with prediabetes. Prediabetes means your blood sugar is already higher than normal, but it has not yet reached the level for a formal diabetes diagnosis. This group of people, prediabetes, is exactly the group that needs the most attention, the most intervention, and has the best chance to reverse course. Every small thing you do right now, changing one small habit, drinking one correct beverage, is affecting your metabolic health 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That is not just a nice sentence. That is real cumulative medical effect. Let me say something that might make some people a little uncomfortable, but it is a real truth. Have you ever noticed that those health supplements that claim to stabilize blood sugar and improve metabolism, those often cost a lot of money, $50, $80, sometimes over $100 for one box. Sometimes you get curious and flip the bottle over to read the ingredient list, and you realize that the core ingredients are just extracts from common plants like bitter melon extract or cinnamon extract or acetate compounds, very similar to what we are talking about today. The 2 ingredients we are discussing, organic apple cider vinegar and Ceylon cinnamon powder together, bought online or at a grocery store, cost less than the price of a lunch out. For a whole month, I am not saying that all supplements are useless. Some have good science behind them. But I am saying that many times what we are paying for is fancy packaging and big marketing claims. Meanwhile, the real science and the real effective natural ingredients are right there available to almost everyone. Knowledge is the cheapest health supplement there is. That is why I make this channel. That is why I want you to spend less money and get better, more honest, more useful information. Now, let me share a third mechanism. This is something that many doctors do not bring up very often, but I think it is very important for you to understand. Inside your intestines, you have trillions of bacteria. They do not go to sleep just because you do. In fact, all night long while you are sleeping, these good bacteria are working quietly. They are producing a group of compounds called short-chain fatty acids. The most important one is called butyrate. Butyrate has two very important jobs. First, it is the main source of energy for your intestinal cells. It helps repair and maintain your gut lining. Second, it enters your bloodstream and travels throughout your body, where it helps improve your sensitivity to insulin. Let me say that more simply, some of the good bacteria in your gut are working all night long to help stabilize your blood sugar. While you sleep, they are working for you. Isn't that interesting? Now, what do apple cider vinegar and cinnamon have to do with your gut bacteria? A lot. The acetic acid in apple cider vinegar is itself a short-chain fatty acid. Research has shown that regularly consuming acetic acid helps increase the population of a specific beneficial bacterium called Akkermansia. This particular bacterium is considered by modern medicine to be a very promising candidate for next-generation probiotics. Why? Because it is closely linked to better blood sugar control, healthier metabolism, and lower inflammation. As for Ceylon cinnamon, the polyphenols in cinnamon have been shown in scientific studies to increase the diversity of your gut microbiome. In particular, they help support the bacteria that produce butyrate, the same butyrate we just talked about. This also explains why this approach requires consistency. You cannot do it for 3 days and then stop for a week. Drinking this once or twice will not show much effect. Your gut microbiome is like a forest or an ecosystem. It takes time to slowly change, slowly shift. If you drink this today, skip tomorrow, drink it again the next day, your bacteria population will not change much. But if you drink it consistently for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, your gut bacteria composition will start moving in a better direction. Think of it like a morning exercise routine. You do not do one session and suddenly become strong. You do it day after day, week after week. That is how you truly change your body. Consistency is the real key. All right. Now let me give you the most practical part, exactly how to make this. It is really simple. I will break it into 3 steps. Step 1, prepare warm water. Use a mug. Put in about 8 to 10 ounces of warm water. That is roughly 240 to 250 milliliters. The temperature should be around 110 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, warm like tea you can drink comfortably without burning your mouth. Please do not use boiling hot water. Why? Because good quality, organic, unfiltered apple cider vinegar contains something called the mother. That is the cloudy, floating stuff you see in the bottle. Sometimes it looks like sediment. High heat can damage these active compounds and the effect will be reduced. Step 2, add apple cider vinegar. Take your organic, unfiltered, cloudy apple cider vinegar. Use a regular spoon. Measure 1 to 2 tablespoons. That is about 15 to 30 milliliters. Here are 2 very important points for you to remember. First, it must be apple cider vinegar, not white vinegar, not rice vinegar, not malt vinegar, not black vinegar. Those vinegars are made from different ingredients and fermented differently. Their effects are completely different. Second, it must be the cloudy kind, the one with the mother. The clear, transparent apple cider vinegar you see in many grocery stores has usually been filtered and heat treated. The mother has been removed. Its effect will be much weaker. Please do not exceed 2 tablespoons. More is not better. Using more than that will not give you better results. It will only increase the risk of irritating your esophagus and your tooth enamel. A small tip, I recommend using a straw. Drink it through a straw so the liquid goes past your teeth to the back of your throat. After you finish drinking, rinse your mouth with plain water once or twice. This will help protect your teeth. Step 3, add Ceylon cinnamon powder. Take your Ceylon cinnamon powder, sprinkle about 2 to 3 grams. If you do not have a measuring spoon, that is roughly 1 level small spoon, like the kind you use for spices. Stir it until it is well mixed. If you like, you can add a few drops of fresh lemon juice. It will taste better and go down more smoothly. Lemon juice also contains vitamin C, which offers a small additional benefit for your liver's detoxification pathways. The most important thing, please do not add sugar. Do not add honey. If you add sugar or honey, it is like you just tightened the kitchen faucet so your liver leaks less sugar at night. But then you turn on a second, bigger faucet from the other side, you will completely cancel out the benefit. In fact, you might even make things worse. Now, about the timing, please drink this about 30 minutes before you go to bed. Do not drink it and then lie down immediately. Why is this timing so specific? Because you need the active compounds, the acetic acid and the cinnamon polyphenols to reach their target sites in your body before your body switches into nighttime mode, before your insulin level naturally drops. Before your liver starts its nighttime shift of releasing glucose, you want that AMP-K master metabolic switch to be flipped on before your liver gets busy. If you wait until you are already in bed and your liver is already releasing large amounts of glucose, the effect will be much weaker. So this timing window is very important. Let me add something here. Many older adults already have the habit of drinking a small cup of warm water before bed. That habit itself is good. It helps replace fluids lost during the night. The drink I am teaching you today is simply an upgrade to that good habit. The ingredients are different, but the timing fits perfectly. It is an easy replacement. Before you start trying this, there are a few safety reminders. Please pay close attention. First, if you have a history of chronic gastritis, GERD, acid reflux, or stomach ulcers, please talk to your gastroenterologist. First, ask whether this drink is appropriate for you. Acetic acid is acidic. For people with very sensitive stomachs, it could cause some discomfort. Second, if you are currently using insulin or a class of oral diabetes medications called sulfonylureas, common names include glipizide, glyburide, glimepiride, Please talk to your primary care doctor before trying this. These medications work mainly by increasing insulin release. This drink may provide additional blood sugar lowering effects. If you do not adjust your medication dose, you could be at risk of hypoglycemia. Low blood sugar is dangerous. It can cause dizziness, cold sweats, confusion, fainting, even loss of consciousness. Let me say it again. This is a supportive lifestyle habit. It is not a medication. It cannot replace standard medical treatment. Please keep this understanding clear. Let me say something very real and very important. The first morning after you drink this, you are not going to wake up feeling like a completely different person. When you check your blood sugar the next morning, you are not going to see a number that makes you cry with joy, not going from 150 down to 110 overnight. That is not how this works. That is completely normal. Please do not be disappointed, and please do not give up because of that. Your body does not change overnight. It never does. It is not like a light switch that flips on and off with a click. Your body is more like a large ship that needs to turn around. It takes time. It takes steady, continuous effort based on clinical experience and published research. Let me give you a rough timeline to expect. Week 1 to week 2, the first 2 weeks. Most people will not feel any dramatic changes. Your blood sugar numbers may still bounce around in the same general range. However, if you are also being careful about your evening meal, meaning your last meal is at least 2 to 3 hours before bed, and you are not sneaking late night snacks or sweets, then you might start to see a very small change. For example, from 150 to 148. Or 148 to 145, please do not look down on that tiny change. That is your body's first signal that it is starting to respond. Week 3 to week 4, the third and fourth weeks, some people, especially those who are more sensitive, will start to report changes in how they feel subjectively. For example, "Doc, I wake up feeling more clear-headed lately. I don't feel that groggy, half asleep feeling as much," or, my mouth doesn't taste so bitter in the morning anymore, and I don't feel as dry. These subjective feelings are actually signs that your gut bacteria are starting to shift and that your body's inflammation levels are going down slightly. These good feelings often show up before big changes on your blood sugar meter. Month 2 to month 3, week 8 to week 12, if you can stick with this consistently without skipping many days, by this point your gut bacteria composition will have started to change more obviously. Good bacteria have increased, less helpful bacteria have decreased. Your insulin receptor sensitivity is slowly improving. At this point, when you check your fasting blood sugar, you should start to see more noticeable and more stable improvements. Multiple studies on cinnamon have shown that continuing supplementation for 12 weeks, about 3 months, produces significantly better results than short-term or single-dose studies. This is the power of cumulative effort. A drop of water can wear through a stone, not because the drop is powerful, but because it keeps dripping day and night without stopping. I know someone will ask, "Doc, how much improvement can I expect? Can you give me a number?" I cannot give you an exact number because every person's age, gender, weight, muscle mass, genetics, lifestyle, medication use, and degree of insulin resistance. All of these are different. Your body is not a product on a factory assembly line. Every person is unique. But here is what I can tell you with certainty. This is a long-term health habit that is directionally correct, very low risk, and very low cost. You have nothing to lose. Even if your fasting blood sugar drops by only 5 points from 150 to 145, that 5 points is real, meaningful protection for your blood vessels, your kidneys, your eyes, and your nerves. It is like going for a 30-minute walk every morning. You will not feel transformed on day 1. But 3 months later, you will look back and realize your legs are stronger, your blood pressure is more stable, and your sleep is deeper. Slow and steady wins the race. Being steady is how you truly win. Let me go back to that retired teacher I mentioned at the very beginning. About 6 weeks later, her daughter sent me a message, or actually, she left a message through the patient portal. She said, Mom now walks for 30 minutes every morning at the community park. Then she goes to the grocery store to buy fresh vegetables. Her energy is really good. It has been a very long time since I heard her complain about that heavy head or bitter taste in her mouth. At the very end of the message, her daughter wrote something specifically. Mom said, Doctor, the first thing I do every night now is not turn on the television. I make that warm drink and put it on my nightstand first. It was such a simple, small thing, no expensive supplements, no strange, questionable remedies, just one small change in her before bed habit. Before I finish, I absolutely must tell you about the 3 most common mistakes I see. Because from my experience, many people fail not because the method is wrong, but because they make one of these 3 mistakes, and then they wrongly conclude that the method does not work. Mistake number 1, sneaking something sweet right before bed. This is the most common problem. I see it in 8 out of 10 people, many people, especially older adults, have a habit of eating a little something while watching television, a few sunflower seeds, a few peanuts, a small cup of warm milk with a spoonful of honey, a slice of cantaloupe, a few grapes, and they think to themselves, fruit is healthy, a little bit is fine. Right? The problem is not whether the food is healthy. The problem is the timing. The mechanism of this drink works when your blood sugar has already naturally gone down, when your insulin has already started to rest, when your liver is just about to start its nighttime shift. You drink this 30 minutes before bed, then half an hour later, right before you fall asleep, you eat a piece of fruit or drink honey water. That is like sending a fresh load of glucose to your liver. It is like tightening a leaky faucet with one hand and then pouring a bucket of water into the sink with the other hand. 2 opposite actions happening at the same time. They cancel each other out completely. Here is a very simple rule. Please remember the sentence, your last meal, and this includes any food or drink with calories, should be at least 2 to 3 hours before your bedtime. And this drink should be taken 30 minutes before bed. Do not mix those 2 time points. Mistake number 2, trying it for a few days, not seeing results, and quitting. I completely understand this feeling. Modern life is fast. Everyone wants quick results, but please think about this. How long did it take your body to slowly get to where it is today? A few weeks, a few months, or years? Decades. You cannot expect a miracle transformation after only 3 or 4 days. Many people try this for 3 days, 4 days, maybe a week. They do not feel any change. Their blood sugar numbers do not drop. So they stop, but what they do not know is that exactly around that time, the first week or 2, the gut bacteria are just barely starting to shift. And by stopping, you are like someone who plants a seed, waters it for 3 days, adds a little fertilizer, and then pulls it out of the ground because you do not see a fruit yet. Please give your body at least 3 to 4 weeks. Give your circadian rhythm, give your gut bacteria, give your liver's metabolic patterns enough time to slowly change. Mistake number 3, buying the wrong ingredients. This is the most unfortunate mistake because people try hard, they spend money, and they get very little benefit, not because the method is wrong, but because they bought the wrong things. Many people go to the store and buy apple cider vinegar carefully, but they buy the clear, transparent kind, the one that looks like water. That is not bad vinegar. It is still vinegar, but the mother has been filtered out. The active compounds are greatly reduced. The effect will naturally be much weaker. What you need is organic, unfiltered, cloudy apple cider vinegar with the mother at the bottom of the bottle. The same thing happens with cinnamon. Many people go to the spice aisle or the bulk food store and buy ordinary cassia cinnamon. They grind it into powder and drink it every day. Is that terrible? Not necessarily, but ordinary cassia cinnamon contains higher levels of coumarin. Drinking it every single day, long term, puts a burden on your liver. What you need is Ceylon cinnamon, the one with very low coumarin. Both of these ingredients are easy to find. Now, in the health food section of large grocery stores or on online shopping platforms, you can search for organic apple cider vinegar with mother and Ceylon cinnamon powder. It only takes a few minutes to check the labels. Do not buy the wrong ones. All right, we are getting close to the end. Let me do a quick review of the 3 big things we talked about today. First, nighttime while you are asleep is the most critical time for blood sugar management. The question is not just what you ate during the day. The question is what your liver does during those 8 hours after you fall asleep. Second, the acetic acid in apple cider vinegar, by activating your body's master metabolic switch called AMPK, Helps your liver reduce unnecessary nighttime glucose output. This is supported by scientific evidence. Third, the active compounds in Ceylon cinnamon help your body's cells all over your body regain their normal response to insulin. They help open the door to let sugar in two different directions, perfectly complementary. Working together to solve the same problem, please give this method at least 3 to 4 weeks to see real cumulative effects. You cannot rush it, but it is absolutely worth it. I want to say something from my heart to every person who has watched this far. The fact that you clicked on this video and the fact that you have spent this much time listening to me explain things slowly, that is not because you are lazy. It is not because you are not trying. It is the opposite. It is because you truly care about your body. You want to find a real, scientifically sound, truly reliable direction. And that in itself is already remarkable. Health has never been a 100-meter sprint. The person who runs the fastest at the beginning is not necessarily the one who reaches the finish line first. Health is a marathon, walking slowly, walking steadily, walking without stopping. That is the real way to go far and go long. If today's content helped you, please do not hesitate to give it a like. That small action tells the algorithm that this is a useful video. It helps more people who need this information, find it. If you have a family member over 60 who is struggling with high morning blood sugar, who is blaming themselves, please share this video with them. This might be the answer they have been waiting for, the explanation that finally makes them feel relieved instead of guilty. Finally, leave me a comment. Tell me, will you try this drink tonight? I will be here reading your answers. In our next video, we are going to talk about a completely different topic, but also very important. Why do some people eat very healthily? They control oil, salt, sugar very strictly, but their blood lipids, their cholesterol, and triglycerides are still high. The reason behind this might be more surprising than you think. Remember to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. I will see you in the next video. Oh, and one more very, very small thing. I want to put this at the very end. This thing is completely free. It takes less than 5 minutes, and it can make tonight's drink even more effective. It is a simple seated calf raise exercise. Let me show you. Sit on a chair with your back straight, place both feet flat on the floor, then slowly and with control lift both heels at the same time so you are up on your tiptoes. Feel the muscles in the back of your lower legs tighten. Hold that position for 3 seconds, then slowly lower your heels back down. That is 1 repetition. Do a total of 20 repetitions. Why do this? Because on the back of your lower legs, you have a muscle called the gastrocnemius. This muscle is special. It is one of the most active muscles in your entire body for taking glucose out of your blood. By gently, mildly activating this muscle before bed, without any heavy exercise, you help your body absorb extra glucose from your blood during the night while you sleep. This small movement plus the drink we talked about. One works on your liver, the other works on your muscles. Together, they form a small double layer of protection. The movement is very small. It takes almost no effort. Anyone can do it in 2023. A research study specifically looked at the effect of this seated calf raise. They called it the soleus push-up on blood sugar. If you are interested, you can look up that study yourself. Try it tonight. It costs nothing. It takes almost no effort. Tomorrow morning, pay attention to how your body feels. This health journey, we walk it together, slowly, steadily. I am your family doctor. I will see you in the next video. If you're dealing with any health concerns, please schedule a visit with your primary care doctor. I'm here to help you understand the science, not replace professional medical advice.